So our July likes battle has wrapped up. And Saints fans, I am proud to announce that we have finally taken down Falcons today. They beat us every single month. Is that not ridiculous? They beat us every month so far in 2024. But we finally got the dub. And I don't want to stop here. I want to beat them in this following month. I want to beat them in August. So let's pour it on them. Let's beat them again, and let's start off this video with 500 likes. Let's start off fast. Let's start off strong. If you hate the Falcons, if you want the Saints to make the playoffs, and if you want to beat the Falcons, not just on the field, but in the walls here at Chat Sports, I need you to hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video, and let's get as many likes as we possibly can so we can dive on in. All right, let's talk about it. Cut candidates at training camp. Now, I want to just preface with this. This is just 5 players who I believe may not make the roster. There is no report that these guys aren't making the roster. It's just kind of what I think will go down for these players here in the upcoming weeks as training camp continues to roll around and as training camp continues to go down. I mean, there's still a few more weeks to go. It's a little bit early, but I wanted to get into it because I do think that some players are starting to separate themselves among the rest. So first cut candidate, we're going to start off with safety, Ugo Amadi. Now, with Ugo Amadi, he is a player that he didn't get a lot of run. He didn't get a ton of reps as a starter last year. He did back up Alontae Taylor quite a bit last year, and I think he was pretty solid at backing up Alontae Taylor, but to be honest, I don't think the Saints were like super happy with what they saw because they did go and sign Will Harris in free agency, who is a slot specialist. And according to PFF, throughout his entire career, he has over 928 snaps at the slot position, and then he also has over 700 snaps at the safety position. So I think he's a player that can really help out, and I think has a lot of experience. And to be honest, I would rather go with Will Harris over Ugo Amadi. But then another player who I want to mention and I want to give a little bit of love to is Millard Bradford. They call him Nuke out in TCU, so that's a really cool nickname. But Millard Bradford, he did flash a bunch in the spring. So at OTAs and minicamp, I mean, he was getting picks left and right. But training camp, it's kind of slowed down for him. He hasn't been able to carry that momentum that he had going into going into training camp, at minicamp, and at OTA. So I do think that Millard Bradford is a player to keep an eye on. Maybe they go with him because he's a little bit younger, a little bit cheaper, and can continue to develop and all that. But I do think that Will Harris is a better fit. Now, with this kind of player, he had 18 tackles, 1 TFL, a QB hit, 2 PBUs, and an interception last year. And when it comes to Will Harris, I just like what he can offer a little bit more. I like his size. I like the experience. I like that he is a guy who has almost 1,000 snaps at the slot spot. Like, that is really, really valuable to me. So, in my opinion, I'm really excited to see what Will Harris can do. Can he beat him out? That's a question that we'll see the answer to in just a little bit. Now, let's talk about fullback Adam Prentice. I've actually mentioned him before as a cut candidate, and it's not that Adam Prentice has been bad throughout his entire career, or because he's actually not been. But last year, there was just a few things that I was like, I'm good. I'm out on him. So I'm going to go into it and why here in just a second. But really fast, I need your help. In one video back in 2022, we got 371 new subscribers. Can we do it again? Can we beat it? Do you want free Saints coverage? Do you want free Saints videos every single day? Do you want to know what's going on around your favorite football team? Well, if you do, you should subscribe. And if you like getting shout-outs, it's another reason you should subscribe. And here's a shout-out to these 5 guys who have recently subscribed and joined our family here at Saints Now by Chat Sports. Youngblood Vlogs, Voodoo Outdoors, In-League Press, 5 Reacts, and Sippy King Media, who, hey, I'm going to keep it real with you. That's a fresh profile picture, my man. So if you want to get a shout-out on a future video, and if you want to get more awesome and free Saints content, I encourage you to subscribe. We're trying to beat that 370 number. So let's put that number in the dirt, and let's set a new record. All right, so going back to why Adam Prentice could be cut, let's talk about Xander Horvath. He's been actually very active throughout this offseason, and The past few days at training camp, he wasn't present. He was out of town. There was personal reasons. It wasn't anything like injury related or anything. But he has been running routes. He's been catching passes, and he's been lead blocking, especially for Taysom Hill. And I do think that with Xander Horvath, he brings a lot to this team. And that number right there, I was talking to it with producer Joey Peterson. He was like, why did you include that? I was like, well, the Saints have a hard-on for the relative athletic score. So when you see a guy who has over a 9.8 RAS, it kind of writes itself. And I do believe that when it comes to Xander Horvath, he has a lot of really nice skills. And I think that he's a player that Clint Kubiak could use similar to Kyle Juszczyk. And I want to make one thing clear here. I think that that's how they should use Taysom Hill, not just as a blocker, but, all over the place. But if you want a true fullback, I think Xander Horvath is the guy to do it. And now my question is, are they going to roll with a true tight end? Or not true tight end. Are they going to roll with a true fullback? Are they going to want to let Taysom Hill take over and be the fullback, tight end, receiver, running, like just the flex guy? Or are they going to want somebody who is a true fullback, who can line up when Taysom Hill is at a different spot, or they can use in different packages? Like, that's a question that Clint Kubiak is the only person who can answer. So depending on how things go there, maybe no fullbacks make it. But I do think if one makes it, it's going to be Xander Horvath. I can't speak. I'm sorry. James Robinson. He's a cut candidate. So crazy thing about him, the first 2 seasons of his career, he had 1,000 yards and then 700 yards. And he had 8 plus 7 is 15 touchdowns over the first 2 seasons. And then after that, it's kind of just, we haven't really seen much of him. Now, the running back room for New Orleans is kind of shaky. I don't know if it's the right word, but there's question marks because Jamal Williams last year was terrible. The year before that, he led the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Kendre Miller, I'm excited about him. Are we going to see him? I don't know. He's dealing with injury again. And if he isn't going to be on the field, then you're not going to get production. And if you're hurt, it's hard to make the team. Now, with Kendre Miller, he has a lot of upside. He's a very exciting player. But at the end of the day, I want to see him stay healthy because the best ability, you know what I'm about to say, is availability. Now, you also see guys like Jordan Mims and Jacob Kabodi on the roster as well for the Saints running backs. But Catherine Terrell, she put out this report on social media, and I do believe that it's actually pretty telling why they might not keep James Robinson around. I mean, there's a high pedigree for him, but Jordan Mims, he's actually been really underrated, and he's been getting a ton of reps. Kendre Miller, like I said, he's been out. He's been dealing with injury, but Jordan Mims is making the most of his opportunity. So it's really nice to see a player take advantage of an opportunity and trying to make the most out of it and hopefully maybe make the roster. But at the end of the day, I mean, you drafted Kendre Miller to be your running back. Just get on the field, man. Like, he's so good. He has all the skills. Just get on the field. So Stanley Morgan, he's another wide receiver, or another player, that I have as a cut candidate. And I want to make something clear while I'm discussing this specific player and all these players, to be honest. It's nothing against them. They're not bad football plays. I don't think that they're terrible. I don't hate these guys. I don't want them to run away and never play in the league again. But I do want my team to be the best roster possible, and I want my team to win as many games as possible. Now, my pick, if I had to go with a lower tier wide receiver on the roster, it's actually going to be Equanimous St. Brown. And he didn't put up a lot of receiving production in his career. He hasn't really done a ton of that, but he's a really good pass blocker, and he has a phenomenal size at 6'5", 214. And when you look at the wide receiver group for the New Orleans Saints, there's a lot of speed. That there is no doubt. There is a lot of speed. Jermaine Jackson, fast. Rashid Shaheed, fast. Chris Olave, fast. Mason Tipton, fast. Bub Means, surprisingly fast. So when you look at all the players, you got speed, but you need physicality. And again, it's nothing against Stanley Morgan. I just want a player who is a little bit bigger, who can offer me something else as a blocker, as a run blocker. And I also want somebody who, gives me something different than I already have on the roster. So again, it's nothing against Stanley Morgan. It's cool to see him come back to Louisiana, but I just don't think that his roster spot, even if he doesn't make the roster, will be anything super big. So we'll have to see what happens. Again, I could be totally wrong on this, and maybe Stanley Morgan is really, really good, but when it comes down to it for me, I have the speed. I want to get some more physicality. Now, I got a few more cut candidates to get through here in just 1 second. But first, I got to say shout out to Game Time for making today's shows possible. And if you like going to live events, concerts, comedy shows, and sports, you have to check out the Game Time app. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to the MLB, NFL, NBA, college sports, concerts, and all sorts of live events. And when you download the Game Time app and you use code CHATSPORTS, you can actually get $20 off your first purchase. So if you want to go to the Panthers-Saints game in Week 1, or if you want to go to a preseason game for the New Orleans Saints, you can go. Look at that. The preseason Saints and Cardinals is as low as $2. So you spend $2, you could put $20 to your flight out to Arizona. You could put $20 to gas to drive out there. So that's kind of how I look at it. $20 is $20. And in today's economy, hey, I'll take what I can get. So if you want to save some money and you want to go get yourself some tickets and create some new memories, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. Terms do apply. One more time. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, last cut candidate. It's my sweet prince. It's the Arkansas Razorback legend, Trajan Jeffcoat. And I only say that because I am an Arkansas grad. If any of you guys didn't know this, I went to the University of Arkansas. I got 2 degrees. Yeah, wrinkly brain over here. Graduated back in 2021. So when I saw that the New Orleans Saints actually signed Trajan Jeffcoat as an undrafted free agent, I was through the roof because I was like, hey, embrace the hog, baby. And Trajan Jeffcoat, now it is important to note with him, he's actually missed some practice due to an elbow injury. And I think that when it comes to him, he may not make the roster because the defensive line is pretty solid as it is. And they have a good, I don't want to say good pass rush, but they added players to potentially help the pass rush. And I think with Trajan Jeffcoat, when he was out there, he started a little scuffle. He, just hasn't been available, and he's injured, and we just haven't seen him out there in a while. So when it comes down to it for me, unfortunately, like I said earlier, the best ability is availability. Trajan Jeffcoat just may not be necessarily available. So when it comes down to it, I think the Saints defensive line does have some really good talent. Colin Saunders, Nathan Shepard. I'm hoping that they can have better years this year. Chase Young, I'm very excited about. And everything is looking up for him. All the reports around him are phenomenal. Carl Granderson, he led the team in sacks last year. Let's see if he can repeat it. Cam Jordan, I'm thinking is going to have a bounce back year. I'm excited about Christian Boyd, the draft pick from this past NFL draft. Brian Brzee, let's go, baby. I want to see Bayou Brzee make some things happen. And Isaiah Foskey. This is a big year for him, as it is for Peyton Turner. So I think that this is a good defensive line. They added some talent to it. They filled a little bit of the holes in terms of the pass rush and the run-stopping abilities. So I do think that when it comes down to it, Trajan Jeffcoat just might be the odd man out. Can also be convinced of Nico Lalos, but he just has he actually has NFL experience. So that is, a little bit more valuable than a guy who just has none. So I want you to name one for me, Saints fans. Who's a player that you think will get cut? Shout it out in the comment section. We're not being mean. We don't hate these players. It's just who's a guy who may not make the roster. Let me know in the comment section. I'll be interacting with all of you. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.